Welcome to Throw Off the Lines, the podcast where we navigate life's changes, explore new horizons, and embrace the journey. I'm your host, Stephanie York, an executive coach with a passion for charting new courses on the water and in life. Ready for some total change? Let's dive in. Okay, welcome to episode 4 in our manifestation series. This today is all about giving it time, and I know it's definitely not my strong suit, but we have to have patience when we're trying to make changes in our lives. And this goes back to, I think a lot of people who we're so urgent about things right now. We want things so fast. And we have to really look at how long did it take us to get where we are right now. And now you want to make a change. And the thing that we often want to change through manifestation is quite large. And so we're not going to be able to change it immediately. We're not going to get a response as quickly as we want. We just talked in episode 3 about some of the uncomfortable things that happen as you start to make change and progress towards those things that you want in your life. So what we're going to talk about is a calming presence of patience in your manifestation practice. Manifestation isn't a microwave process, and I think you inherently know that, or you wouldn't be on episode 4 with me because you're patient enough to be 4 episodes in. But manifestation itself, when we're talking about the neuroscience behind it and the actual process that we're trying to create, that's not just a vision board and not just fluffy, but actual real change. It's neurological and emotional and energetic transformation. So when you think about emotional transformation, I mean, people go through therapy for years to get emotional transformation. And neurological, we're trying to create new paths in your brain, and habits are formed. I mean, habits take over 21 days to actually change, and we all lack willpower lately and dopamine response. And so we've just got to be more patient with this process. So in this episode, we'll explore the importance of patience, how new neural pathways take time to form, and why delayed gratification is often the final test before alignment clicks into place. And this sounds a little bit closer to a lot of the manifestation videos that are out there. The universe is going to challenge you. And, it's true. I know that when we get uncomfortable, we learn about ourselves. Pushing ourselves into uncomfortable situations is a way to reset our expectations and make change. Change is almost impossible without some discomfort. So when we look at how we want to have these things in our lives, we have to change. We have to realign. We have to fix things that we haven't fixed before, or we would already have these things. You'd be perfect already. So let's jump into what some of the ways we can handle patience in our manifestation process. And now this series, I've mentioned before, is inspired by the book The Source by Dr. Tara Swart. The link to her book is in the show notes. And today we're diving into a critical but often ignored part of that manifestation, which is patience. And she talks about it in her book. So you've done the vision board, and we talked about making the vision board actionable. That was an early episode. And you're saying the affirmations, you're working on your self-talk. And I have a whole episode on self-talk. And there's a great book called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shad Helmstetter. It's a tiny book, but it is powerful and life-changing, and I refer it to more than half of my clients because it's just such a great way to shift stigma and trauma and make changes. So this feels like you did all the stuff, and why am I not seeing alignment? I'm making the changes, and hopefully it's happening soon, and why isn't it happening now? And this is where most people give up. And it's also where the real transformation starts. When it gets difficult, when it takes time, we wonder and we worry. Maybe we told somebody and now we don't have anything to prove and we feel bad because we look bad. Who cares? Who cares if you look bad? Nobody cares that you're doing the work on a Saturday morning. I'm here making podcasts. I'm writing the podcasts. And I'm doing this work. So sure, I'm on episode 40 when you're listening to this. This is 40 weeks worth of episodes for me. I'm sticking with it because I keep finding more topics. But nobody's there when I'm trying to do the work. Nobody's there when I have mechanical failures or noises outside of my apartment. And that's okay, because when you can move through this, you're doing more than most people. You're always becoming what you believe, but change happens in the timeline of your nervous system, not your calendar. So I didn't know how long it would take for me to achieve this dream of a job that aligned with all of me back in episode 3. And I was walking around and pleading and crying. I was so upset and so just uncomfortable and trying to take care of my daughter. I was a single mom and I didn't have a lot of money. And I was just so heartbroken over my boss and my job and everything. And I pleaded and looked for help. And by doing that, it set the wheels in motion. And now, knowing it took 3 years, but I got what I asked for. I got exactly what I asked for. I didn't even know it existed, and it just dropped in my lap. And, I can see where focusing on things and making them clearer can help the process and could speed it up more than 3 years. But if you're looking at a month or 2 months and you haven't gotten that $1 million or that contract or that relationship, then if your frustration should be a sign to you that you need to double down and be patient with the process and go back to working on that subliminal stuff. And you can, working on me is working on my nervous system and in turn my manifestation. So working on you is working on your nervous system. And when you soothe that nervous system, it gives the prefrontal cortex and your subconscious time to shift new neural pathways. And then, because you were patient and because you took the time and you continued to pursue, you're now ready for that change. Because not everybody is ready for that change. Now, Dr. Swart says, neural pathways are like trails in a forest. And we've talked about this in my other episodes. The more you walk on them, the stronger they get. And many of us in business hear this a lot when something is somebody's doing training and we're trying to change habits. We hear a lot about the new trail and the new path, and you whack away the weeds. And I just love visuals, so that's why I love that story. So a lot of us have heard it, and your path has been built so solidly by you and your environment and those things you focus on, like maybe your phone or your TV or your friends, and you don't want to. I didn't want to sit around on boats drinking all the time. And I didn't want to I wanted adventure and I wanted more. So I had to completely break out of my thing. I kind of threw everything over and I went right into the jungle, and I'm beating paths down all over the place. But I was also at a dire situation, and if you're just trying to make some changes, you're going to have to beat these new paths into your brain, into your neurosystem. And your brain doesn't instantly accept a new belief or a new identity that you're putting on yourself. It needs repetition and evidence and proof that you're going to continue to follow through, because it's a safety measure. And it's going, okay, they want to do this. I'm going to see if it sticks, because right now I've got this safe process in place. I've got this identity in place, and I'm not moving over there until there's proof that that's working. So we have to create consistency in your internal messaging to build and grow the trust and path for your brain. And that's when the shift happens. It's nearly impossible to go from pain to joy instantly, but you might be able to go from pain to hope. And when we're making these progresses in your journaling, you can look back and look for tiny shifts. There's a myth of instant manifestation, so you can shift your energy quickly. Like you can get up and run across the room, but physical reality often moves more slowly. And when we see influencers or people selling us something, they promise faster fixes, and that's them selling something. So be aware of messages that are coming through to you. Somebody's saying, you should see my podcast and everything. I go out and I'm looking for new ways to do something. And all of a sudden, when I research, I get 15 ads. We can do this for you in 2 minutes. Don't do what you're doing. Don't do that anymore. And I just have to shut it down and giggle, because advertising is always coming at us. And boy, it's creative. It's entertaining for me to watch advertising. So the myth is that you're not going to get it really quick. And these influencers or people that are selling stuff, the guy with the 6-pack abs or the woman who's living an amazing life, did not get there overnight. In fact, many of them are not living the life they are selling. This is your journey. And it's your pace, and the clarity is yours and no one else's. We cannot measure ourselves through others' efforts and accomplishments. It just isn't going to work for you. So manifestation is a process of neural reconditioning. So I want you to think about that. And, I'm, again, very visual. So when I meditate, I'm sitting on a bridge across a river and there's leaves going under. And when my mind gets distracted, I take that little idea. I call it my monkey brain, because I name my self-sabotaging voice as a monkey brain, and I giggle and I put it down on the leaf and I watch it float away. This is your journey. This is my journey when I'm trying to do this. So doing the work and visualizing and really owning that pace and that clarity, it's yours. Don't measure yourself by anybody else. And doing it the right way is the only way. Otherwise, it's not real and it will not align for you. And if you try to rush it, you're not gonna be able to align future steps. It's kind of like, I want to get to that side of the road. Well, I've got to walk across the road. I can't get over there. I mean, I could jump, but if I jumped, I maybe have to jump a couple times. Anyways, I tell my clients, you have to do these things before you can do the next level. You have to get organized. You have to put a budget in place. You have to know what you need. You have to break down your problems. Let's solve those problems before we try to jump to that next problem. Pardon me. Like a lot of my clients want to hire somebody to take all these problems off their plate. And I said, but you're not organized. So you're going to hire somebody, and then there's two people sitting in a messy environment. And you're not able to delegate because you didn't do the work. So you're not going to be able to grow unless you do the work. You've got to do it the right way. And I'm telling you, once you learn to do the work, it picks up speed. So the patience is really the most important in the beginning. And again, that's why a lot of people do not manifest a better life and do not get to where they want to be. And they aren't living their most happy, purposeful life because it gets hard and then they give up. So why is time necessary? Let's talk a little bit about that. Because we need to reinforce new habits. They're critical to continued growth. You can't run before you walk. So we need those new habits to be consistent enough that our brain lets go of the danger warning. And to replace limiting beliefs, it's going to take more time. Rebuilding your belief system, changing your reality is a process. It's those people who focus and do not give up when no one is looking, when the others are gone and in the dark of night, early morning hours, and all are on your own. You do the work. It's yours to do. And when you stick with it, it doesn't matter what other people are thinking. You're doing your work. You're living your life. It's so important. You're given this one precious, wild, crazy life. Do it, And then we have to take time to build confidence through small wins. Again, we're triggering alarms in our subconscious and in our brain. And when we recognize, oh, hey, that was good. Go back to the journal. Oh, I have these wins. I wrote my wins up in the corner of the page. I feel really good about that. Oh, my brain starts to relax. The nervous system settles down. And then the prefrontal cortex opens up, and then we're like, oh, I can imagine more things. And we need to know that in turn, it adds your motivation and it helps your prefrontal cortex see possibility by building those confidences. And I'm here to tell you that daily focus on the small things, resetting when you hit a difficult patch, reimagining and revisiting the list adds up so fast. It really does. It's amazing when you look back, even often over a few weeks, but it will take time. If you don't want to be patient and put in the work, that's okay. If you want to just sit and manifest randomly, I'm okay with that too. It might be just an exercise you're enjoying. But this series of podcast episodes is about action and really making that change. So you will not see significant lasting change if you're not patient and put in the work. It just doesn't happen. Think about the lottery winners who lost everything. There's tons of stories about them. And some of them, some very famous stories, ended up destroying themselves and their entire family with the windfall. If you're not ready to handle everything, then there's still work to be done. And I now am really happy about the time it's taking for me to adjust, because I might be stepping into big rooms where I have big opportunities. And if I hadn't done this work and prepared myself, I would not be able to take advantage of those opportunities because I wouldn't feel confident. I wouldn't feel secure. I wouldn't have these belief systems in place. So just because you planted a seed yesterday doesn't mean you dig it up today to check on it. You leave the seed in the ground and then you just keep watering it and eating well and doing your best. So let's look at some emotional triggers during that waiting period, because these are the things that can derail you. Common experiences that happen to a lot of people are doubt and fear and frustration, and comparison is a huge one, and impatience. I'm an incredibly impatient person. So, everybody else seems to be getting what they want. Why not me? And this is a time for you to sit down and journal and say, what have I gotten? What do I have? I don't have what they have, but what they have might not be what I need. And start to analyze yourself. Start asking yourself, why are you bothered by the process? This is a really good question. Get your papers out and start asking. Everyone else has, why not me? And then write down what you're feeling and then start to say, why am I bothered by this need for patience? Why am I in such a rush? What about what I'm going through needs to be addressed immediately? And keep a record of your struggles and keep going back to it. And I told you, if you start a journal today, in a week or 2 weeks, you go back and read today's entry, and you might not even recognize yourself in a week or 2 weeks if you do this work. I promise you. So again, this is where most people quit. They quit diets because they're too hard. They quit exercise. They quit dating. I've met so many people who've just quit dating, but they're really lonely. They quit their education. They quit job hunts. They quit ending bad relationships. They just give up because, I live with this person. My whole life is tied together with them. If I end this, I've got to go out and get an apartment and start a new life. I'll lose most of my friends. It's really hard. But you know in your soul, I have to do this for my life. I'm worthy. And difficulty is the one hurdle everyone faces, and it makes the difference between those that succeed and those who quit. Believe me, more centenarians say regret is the worst feeling in this life. So let's not look back on yours with regret. The best thing I have done in this life for myself is to upend everything and launch back out into the wide open. I'm alive, and it's amazing. I would wish it on all of you. So next, we have to acknowledge the brain's threat response. My brain and body got scared when I decided to make a huge change in my own life. But I had been at my rope's end for years. So I had been experiencing poor sort of cognitive dissonance for years. So for me, I waited too long. Now I see what I need to change, and I work on it from a place of solid faith and belief because I've made changes and they worked out for me. I risked this podcast and I'm on it still, and I'm loving it, and I'm getting great responses from people. People are using this podcast the same way I use the information I'm sharing to grow and change and feel better and live healthier, more fulfilling lives. And that's all I hope for you. But I was able to work on my proof. And when I felt better about it, now the changes happen faster. Now I can see more clearly what I need to do. And I have proof, and you can too. So just start journaling. Keep in mind waiting activates your inner critic and fear center. So impatience triggers all the negative self-speak. You can't do anything if you don't think you're good enough. So if your internal dialogue, your subconscious, is still being framed around maybe parents had told you were worthless or something happened to you in your childhood, they can help you feel at peace and change the way you see yourself if you do that work. Again, go back to my self-speak episode. It's a wonderful episode. And reprogram that internal dialogue. And it can end generational trauma, and it can help you feel better. But self-speak and reprogramming your subconscious takes time. You have to be very patient with it. But you create mantras, and you start to say them over and over again. And then when your body keeps hearing these words instead of the negative ones, when you come up against a challenge, bam, you're all of a sudden saying better things to yourself, and you start to see yourself different, and your subconscious has a different outlook, and you're triggering on different things. So tools to build patience. Let's jump on this. Future journaling. Think about this. If you're already journaling, which I highly recommend, write daily from the mindset of your future self who's already achieved your desire. So I myself wanted to be a podcaster, and I wanted to do this podcast, and I was being undermined by people. Well, I just went into my journal and I started writing. My podcast is doing fantastic and people are listening to it. I'm getting feedback from people. Every week I feel energized by it. I have new topics. I find a new topic as soon as I start writing one, and I am loving what I'm doing. So start writing things from a mindset of the person who already achieved it. And I think in episode 1, I talked about your future self letter to yourself. So you can do daily journaling, and you can have a section on future self and then a section on challenges, and they don't interfere with each other. Your future self can still see you now in these challenging times and pull you through. So writing future journaling helps maintain emotional regulation. Always posing topics in a relationship to the future helps your brain see it as the truth. I am an athlete. This one in particular helped me overcome feeling old. I am an athlete and always will be one. I don't care what anybody else thinks. I work out, I'm physical, I can go do things because I do work out. And because of that, I'm an athlete. I'm athletic. And you can be athletic and be an athlete. You don't have to be, again, like these influencers and the six-pack abs. If you're up and moving and doing stuff, if you're going out and trying to push your body, you're an athlete. Period. Accept it. Another tool for building patience is embodied affirmations. Don't just say, I'm a great person. We talked about in the last episode, in the second episode, about building on how we see our vision board and our action board, and building on the ideas that we want to come true and what we want to manifest. And if you say, I'm an athlete, do it while you're walking. If you want to say, I am successful, I'm proud of myself, I have $1 million, I own a house, I have a relationship, all those things that you want to manifest, say it while you're walking around, play some music, make a song about it, make a poem about it, breathe it, move in the energy of the future you. And it's so powerful. Dance, walk, hike, see the beauty around you, reflect it back on yourself. When you're out walking around, look up. I have a little 15-minute manifestation walk that is in the podcasts. Turn that on. You're allowed to be happy and healthy, and you're worth it. And even if your world is falling apart, you can go out and have a walk and look at the birds and look at the sunshine, and look at the trees, look at the grass, feel the beauty around you and absorb that. And you can go back and there can be tough things, but you took that beauty break. And that embodying those affirmations and telling yourself it's worth it. You're as important as anyone else, and that is the raw, solid truth. So another thing that you can do to build patience is a progress tracker. And this is important. I'm goal-oriented to my bones, so I like to see when I'm making progress. So record those small wins. We talked about getting your journal open, and on the day, hey, I called a client and that client responded and I have a meeting with them and now they've given me a contract. Well, boom, boom, boom. All of those are wins. So in your journal, you're going to write up in the corner, talk to client, called and talked to client, big happy face or a heart or whatever in a red pen. And now go back and look at your wins. Evidence rewires the brain for belief. I can be successful because I'm doing these things and they are working. And believe me, they work. My clients are consistent. And when they feel really bad about something, I'm like, let's give it one more try. They give it one more time. They talk to 15 people that they hadn't talked to before. And it's just so powerful. So write the wins in the journal, put it at the top of the page, put a sticker in there, flip back through, see all the wins. And then a progress tracker, even mind shifts count. So those are the big breakthroughs, the self-perception shifts, feelings. They're all huge victories. And I'll tell you, when you're doing this work and really earnestly trying, you're going to see lessons in places you'll be surprised. I was watching Survivor with my daughter, and there was a young girl there on the show. And she, before signing up for Survivor, had been overweight and homebound. She played video games and stuff. And she signed up for it, and her whole family told her she couldn't do it. She'd never win. She'd be the first one voted out. Can you imagine your family is that negative? Well, yeah, my family was pretty negative with me too. And so were my friends. And so we just shut people down. And I'm telling you, I learned from her journey. She was struggling with a challenge, starting fire. I love Survivor. And starting fire. And she said, I just won that other challenge. I can do this. The old me told me I can't. The new me is reframing this. And in those difficult moments, she didn't let the old language kick in. She built off the belief of her victory. And those small wins shift that mindset. And when you get a self-perception shift, maybe you watched a movie and you took a great piece of information away from it, write it in your journal. And that is a victory. That's a win. Put it at the top. Saw myself. New belief, new core value, whatever it is, write it in there. They're all huge victories. They're going to help your brain make that shift. So hope is not passive. It's a living, active process, and it's a practice that you should have. And I said, sometimes we can't go from pain to joy, but we can go from pain to hope. And when we nurture hope and we learn to have hope, that is the core of resilience, it's the core of adaptability, and it's the core of thriving. And I have podcasts on all three of those topics. So the practice of hope is what manifestations patience practice is. So trust the gestation period. Patience is a virtue, but sadly lacking in so much of our society. What if nothing's happening? Often things are rearranging behind the scenes. You're sinking deep, new, wonderful things into that subconscious. You're unraveling old beliefs, perceptions, and stigmas. It's going to take time. You've lived this many years, and all that stuff is built on top of a solid foundation. You're picking it apart. You're unraveling it, and it's going to take a little bit of time. So the brain, your energy, your environment, they all need time to align. And if you're focused on the future stuff and you put yourself out there, like all of a sudden now, I've got networking opportunities I didn't have before because I was going out and meeting new people and I was showing up for things and creating relationships with people. And I may or may not be ready for these networking opportunities, but I'm going to push through and go do uncomfortable things because I'm kind of loving the effort. I'm loving getting to know myself in uncomfortable situations, but I've been doing this for a while. You'll get there. So here's the kicker, the energetic test. So the universe or our subconscious often tests your desire with a pause. So this patience thing, I put in 3 months and I haven't seen anything. Maybe it's hard to break through these other things sometimes. So often when you have a dopamine addiction or substance use that is a habit, this feels like a long, slow process. If you've been frozen, thawing out can feel like a long time. So this energetic test to see if you're ready for it could be the last barrier, but sometimes it feels so hard. And your brain has been protecting you for so long based on these beliefs that you're maybe not worthy or this is where you belong. And to kick down that wall, to bust through that door takes an effort, but the consistency can get your brain and your energy and your environment aligned together. Can you hold the belief without external proof? Absolutely you can, and you will. Know you are way more powerful than you think. Own it in your soul. You got this. That's where that hope comes in. And when you feel stuck, sit with it. Feel it. Journal. Grow. Change. That discomfort is a past belief or a pathway breaking up and ending and giving its last kicks. And trust me, when you break through that, and you go back and read your journal, you're going to be like, wow, I did not know that was that bad. So there's a spiritual scientific bridge here as well I want to really address, which is why a lot of people hate the word manifestation. And it's often just so fluffy and hippie and out there. And what I want to talk about is, you talk to a lot of doctors and they're all very scientific and they say there's a spirituality, a miracle to the human body and to the soul. And it takes both physical, solid, scientifically proven techniques and a solid belief system to make change. So self-talk can help with the psychology of believing you deserve it. And your spirituality is let go and trust. That's faith and hope. And then the scientific side is keep reinforcing the desired outcome so your RAS continues filtering for opportunity. Your RAS is your reticular activating system, and it's the network of neurons in the brainstem that plays a crucial role in regulating wakefulness, arousal, attention, and it acts as a filter for sensory information, deciding what is important enough to reach conscious awareness. So when you keep reinforcing your desired outcome and you let go and become patient and trust, keep doing the work day in and day out, that's the beauty of the bridge between the spirituality and the science behind manifestation. So affirmations for you to use. Make up your own, but I am becoming the person who naturally receives what I've asked for, and that takes time. I'm worthy of change and happiness. I deserve good things. Change is my right and my journey. Write these things down. Write your own. And make a little Post-it note. I have people who put Post-it notes on their bathroom mirror, in their car, on their dashboard, and they have it at their desk, and they have them in little drawers. And these little affirmations, they say them to themselves, reinforcing self-talk and good beliefs. And they really, really work because you start to see yourself. I am an athlete. You start to see yourself that way. Reflection. What are you rushing that actually needs time to ripen? Write this down. What are you rushing? What could you give permission to unfold? Now, I know a lot of people need money. I'm not in any way saying that a lot of people listening to this don't need something to change really fast. They're scared and they I mean, I talk to a lot of people who are just full of fear. They need to make changes for their health. They need to make changes for their life. They're going to lose situations if they don't make a change really fast. And I want you to think about, what are you rushing that actually needs time to ripen? What about your manifestation do you have to have right now? Let's focus on that. Let's make action steps towards that. What in your manifestation or your vision board, your action board, can you give permission to unfold as it's going to? And really give yourself a little bit of peace to add to the patience. And then a practice challenge. Let's try this. This is, again, get that little notebook out. For the next 7 days, track where progress is happening, even if your final result hasn't arrived yet. So just for 7 days, get your journal out, and every day, where's your list of manifestations? Where's your action board? Where's your visions? What have you done action-oriented for the next 7 days that have given you progress? Where is a win? What is a victory? And I think that if you get 1 win a week, that's 52 wins in a year. Imagine where you'll be if you get 52 positive reinforced actions moving you forward towards your manifestation. That's huge. If we get 7 days that we focus on this, and then you have 365 days that you're doing this over the course of a year, imagine how much your life would change. And then you talk to your future self and you say, I have this business started. I have whatever you're looking for. I exist in that place. It's powerful. So write 1 affirmation daily, reinforcing your trust in the timeline. I trust in the process. I feel the process unfolding. My future self sees me waiting and congratulating me on this patience. So just remember, because it's not here yet doesn't mean it's not on its way. And I'm really just glad you've been patient enough to listen through this whole episode. Patience isn't the absence of action. Keep that in mind. Write that on a little piece of paper in case you're an impatient person. I'm an incredibly impatient person. Patience isn't the absence of action. It's the ability to keep acting with belief, even when the outcome hasn't shown up yet. Think about the changes you've made in your past. They didn't happen fast, but looking back, they were worth it. And then next week, we're going to explore letting go without giving up, the art of detachment and manifestation. I have a whole episode on letting go and doing nothing. And I had to learn that in the beginning of my podcasts because I was so anxious and I felt like nobody wanted to talk to me and nobody was going to listen to this. And why was I doing it? And then I thought, I'm doing this for me. I mean, if nobody listens to this podcast, I'm happy, but people are listening to it. And yeah, I'm happy. So we want to learn about letting go. And if you want to listen to something, you've already listened to this and you're doing all the prompts and you're doing all the work, you can go back to my podcast episode called Doing Nothing. And I talk about the patience I've learned and giving myself permission to be patient and giving myself permission to not constantly push, because in that place is where personal growth develops. And if you know somebody who is struggling in their life, share these podcasts with them. A lot of people know somebody who's trying to get a therapist. They need to work on stuff. In the meantime, they can listen to some of these podcasts. Here are some of the things that I've done to help myself, and hopefully they can use these tools as well. And look at, this is called throw off the lines. What are the lines that are holding you back? And cut them, untie them, let go of that dock, pull away, float. Anything that's going to expand is going to be in aligned with your true nature. So until next time, I hope you have a total day, and I hope you take care of yourself. And we'll be looking at letting go on the next episode. Take care. Thank you for joining me on Throw Off the Lines. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe for future episodes and extras, and leave a review, share it with someone who needs a total inspiration. You can also find us on Facebook or Instagram and our Throw Off the Lines website. If you want to be a guest or have questions for the host, sign up on the website and we'll get back to you. Until next time, throw off those lines and live your best life.